Okay, so now we have all of the ribbon on. So now we're going to flip it over and we're going to finish off the back side of the wreath. So with the pipe cleaners, they have that sharp pointy end. And so what we're going to do is we want to kind of tuck that in. In this stage, you can also, if you did not, were not able, or maybe you noticed that you didn't get it as tight as you wanted, you can untwist your pipe cleaners and adjust. Particularly if there's any on the outside that maybe didn't roll in as much as you want them to. And so if you have the needle nose pliers and the wire cutters, this is a good time to use them. Again, it's not mandatory, but it is helpful. So if you do not, all you're going to do is just twist, and then you're going to just roll your pipe cleaner down and kind of tuck it in. That's it. Now, if you have wire cutters, it just saves you a little bit of time. You don't have as much tucking to do. And all you're going to do is just kind of go around the wreath and tie off what I call tie off all the pipe cleaners. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll fast forward and then we'll resume again with adding the sign and finessing the front of the wreath. Okay, so we have the back of the wreath all tied off. So now we're going to flip it back to the front. And one of the things you will want to do is kind of make sure your ribbon is all up and showing the way you want it. You will do this several times, but I like to kind of fix a few now, and I will always see more later on. But just in this way, also when I'm kind of fixing a few of these, I'm also kind of looking to see where I would like my sign to go. So we have this fun flag that we're going to use for this wreath. So you kind of want to find a little home, like maybe you want some of the stars to be showing. You know, it's really whatever you want. I did this one a little different. It is metal, so I didn't want to put too many holes into the sign itself. So I did one at the top, utilizing the hook that's already there, and then on the side. So we're going to start with the top of this sign. So you're going to take one end, or I guess technically you use both, and go down and wrap it around the, so I am going to take both of them and go down. You could just do one. Sorry. Working with the fishing line is sometimes challenging. It doesn't always like to cooperate with me when I'm trying to stand above it. So what I did is I took each end and went around one of the metal loops of the wreath form itself. And yes, I squished the mesh, but we can reposition that so that that hole does not show. Right now, it just makes it easier for me to get down to this metal bar down here. So I've run both of them down. I'm going to come back and I'm going to take one of them and go through the hole from front to back and pull that through. And then I'm going to take the other and go from back to front through that little hook in the back. And then I'm going to take both these ends and I'm going to pull them through to the back side. Now, I am going to put a little tension on this because I do want the flag to sit into the wreath. So I do want to put a little tension as I pull those two ends to the back side. So we're going to flip it over. And I'm going to utilize this crossbar here and wrapping the fishing line kind of around it, just to help anchor it. Okay, so now I'm going to start to tie it off. Now, unless you're great at throwing square knots, I advise throwing multiple throws just so it doesn't shift too much. So I end up doing about 4 throws. And then for good measure, I often will wrap it around one of the bars again and do another 4. It's probably overkill, but I'd hate to have it slide. Okay. So now is when you will need some scissors, and you're going to trim off your excess of the fishing line. Now I'm going to flip it back over to the front, and you see I can move this ribbon around so that hole doesn't show anymore. All right, so now we're going to work with the bottom side. So I'm going to take one end, and I'm going to kind of find my way down to the wire. I'm going to take it to the back side and wrap it around. And feed it back up through. So it's anchored on one of those wires in the back going around the wreath. And then I'm going to come back down through my hole. And I'm going to bring this to the back of the wreath. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. When you're tying this off, you do want to be careful not to catch too much of the mesh or the ribbon, that you're not planning, that if you're going to pull it out from underneath, it doesn't shift the tension. So sometimes if I have like a bundle of wreath of mesh stuck here, a ribbon that I want to pull out, then I want to kind of do that net, because if I tighten it and then do it, it will cause some laxity in your sign. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm going back down that hole, and I'm going to feed it through to the back side. Okay, so now what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to grab both ends of the fishing line into one hand. Now again, so this is kind of what I'm talking about. You just want to, so when you're, there we go. All right, so it's kind of, you can see how it's kind of set in a little bit. So there's mesh coming out around the side. I can still pull some of this out. It'll be fine. So I put a little bit of tension. I'm going to flip it to the back side. Now with this one, I've got this metal bar that I think I'm going to strive for to twist mine around. So I'm going to take this one, wrap it around, come back through. And then I'm going to take this side and go around this way and come up. Okay, there we go. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and tie this. And if you're concerned that maybe something shifted, you can always flip it back over and check your positioning of your sign before you throw all your throws. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to, for good measure, take it around. This time I took it to the inside. And I'm going to do another couple throws. Trim off my extra. Flip my wreath back to the front. And now this is when you can move your ribbon, pull out certain patterns if you want to make sure, you know, this cute little check is showing. Making sure, you know, I got my stars flipped the right way. There we go. And so just kind of finesse that wreath the way you want it. You might want to tuck something back behind it, which is fine. And you can do this again when it's hanging up. Sometimes you might want, it might look different when you're actually having it hanging on your wall. So, like this one's got a whole bunch of ribbon stuck behind, so I can pull some of that out. There. So there we go. So that is your patriotic wreath. I hope you found this video easy to follow. Please reach out if you have any questions, and hopefully I will get to see you again on another one. Thanks. Actually, I'm sorry, I forgot one last step. The wire to hang your wreath. I use a little 3M hooks to hang my wreath, so these work really nicely and helps it to stay more in place as opposed to just using the wire on the back of the wreath. So I kind of come up to the top. I'm going to flip that over, and you can use your fingers for this. As you see, I've been kind of bending that wire on its own. I do like to use my needle nose because it saves my fingers, and I also get it a little tighter that way. But it certainly can be done with your fingers, by finger tightening it. So I'm just going to wrap that around. All right, there we go. Now it's on. Now it's complete. Thanks for watching.